Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our revered speaker for today, His Grace BHUTABHAVANA Prabhu. And all glories to the Assembled Vaishnava devotees. Dear devotees, we are very, very much privileged. We have our own brother, even though he's our brother, but it's been quite a long time having his association as we are having today. And by the divine arrangement of their lordships and the parampara, today we have His Grace BHUTABHAVANA Prabhu. And the reason we don't get lots of his association is he is quite busy. His engagements take him different places. So here we are today. And Prabhuji, I sometimes get overexcited and talk more than I needed to, but I'll try to restrain myself. And with that being said, we may put the verse on the screen and then you take it over from here.
Sure.
So it's funny, but we welcome you to your own home. So Hare Krishna, welcome to Hare Krishna Africa.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the wonderful and warm welcome. So just wait for the verse to come on the screen. Okay. So I'll just say the invocation prayer, then we'll read the Sanskrit, the translation, and then we'll discuss this particular verse in purport. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 3, text number 6. Sutam Ride Kam Vapusa Grasantam Drisva Sunab Bon Matitam Daritra Amantritas Tat Tanayaya Shesham Datva Tadanta Puram Avishesha. Okay, if we could scroll down. Okay, so Sutam, sun, Mride in the fight, Kam, the sky, Vapusa, by his body, Grasantam, while devouring, Dritva, seeing, Sunabhya, by the Sudarshan wheel, Unmatitam, killed, Daritraya, by the earth, Amantritaha, being prayed for, Tat Tanayaya, to the son of Narakasura, Shesham, that which was taken from, Tatva, returning it, Tat, his, Antaha, Param, inside the house, Avishesha, entered. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Narakasura, the son of Daritri, the earth, tried to grasp the whole sky, and for this he was killed by the Lord in a fight. His mother then prayed to the Lord. This led to the return of the kingdom to the son of Narakasura, and thus the Lord entered the house of the demon. Purport. It is said in other Puranas that Narakasura was the son of Daritri, the earth, by the Lord himself. But he became a demon due to the bad association of Bana, another demon. An atheist is called a demon. And it is a fact that even a person born of good parents can turn into a demon by bad association. Birth is not always the criterion of goodness. Unless and until one is trained in the culture of good association, one cannot become good. Okay. Gyanatamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Umilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutabhadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Virajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagat Pate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapaturbyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyeva Chapatitnam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so I'll begin by requesting the blessings of the devotees and just saying how honored I am to be in all of your association. And it's also a great honor to be able to reflect on these wonderful verses and purports of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the life-changing lessons that lie herein. So in this purport, well, in the verse and purport, we're hearing about this demon, Narakasura, the son of Daritri, the earth. And it's very, very interesting. When I was preparing for this verse, and also if you look at the verse itself, there's something that's very subtle here, which is easy to miss. So it says here, let's see. It talks, this, his mother then prayed to the Lord, and thus the Lord entered the house. So Narakasura actually is of divine parentage. So his mother is Daritri. Daritri is another name for Earth, Mother Earth, Bhuma. So Narakasura is also known as Bhaumasura in some places. And what's often missed is that his father is actually an incarnation of God. So his mother was the earth goddess, but his father is Varahadev. So his father is actually an incarnation of God. And so, interestingly enough, even though he's born of the lineage of the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, and even though he ruled a kingdom, and he was even described at one point as being a very wise ruler, a very good ruler, a very good king. It is explained that he, from being a wise ruler, eventually became corrupted. And in this verse, it also explains why. It is due to the association of Banasura. This lesson is very, very instructive for each and every one of us. Someone who is actually born of the Supreme Personality of Godhead eventually became someone who even challenged the Supreme Lord himself and therefore ended up being killed by Krishna. Very, very interesting, because we hear all the time about the importance of association, why association is so valuable, what happens. But here in the Bhagavatam pastimes, we see such strong examples that we see someone who's come from the Lord himself, but who could also be so corrupted by the association. In Parashara Muni's Rihad Parashara Hora Shastra, he explains that our behaviors are based upon three different influences. The first influence, he says, is your nature. So how we behave in the world is based upon our psychophysical nature. We act a certain way according to that. Then Parashara Muni says also there's an influence from your upbringing. So the way that we're brought up, we see this in the world, right? We see it every day. Someone has a certain kind of tendency, a certain kind of character, a certain kind of nature. Then there's the influence on top of that of their upbringing. What does the upbringing do? The upbringing can either suppress who we are it can be neutral to who we are, or it can help who we are to really flourish. Okay, so three states of nurture, either causing some kind of repression. And the Christian warns about this in the Bhagavad Gita. He says everyone has to act according to their nature. What good will repression do? Okay, so many people in the world, they're repressed. And what does the repression lead to? If the repression keeps going on, it actually activates the mode of ignorance. You know, just like sometimes you see that you have a fizzy drink and you're shaking the drink and all the pressure's building up inside. But there's a lid on that drink, so the pressure just builds up, builds up, builds up. It can't get out. But you know that something negative is happening in the bottle. The moment a little bit of room is made available, the moment you open the bottle a little, everything explodes outwards or overspills. Because even though externally the bottle was closed, internally there was all this pressure that was building up. And that's what happens in the modern society where we repress the spiritual needs of an individual. Oftentimes, we live in a society which is so attuned to the lower modes that it causes people to only look at things in a superficial way. So we look at various situations in society, wars, abuse, greed, lust, envy, violence. We look at so many different things in society. And even when they try to find the cause, often they look at a very superficial cause. We don't go so deep due to the modes, due to the conditioning. We don't go so deep as to see what was the repressed aspect, what caused that repression so that these issues were building up, bubbling up beneath the surface, and eventually they exploded. This is very interesting for us because it also relates to us as individuals, that we ourselves are like the microcosm and the universe or the society is like a macrocosm. So you have the big and the small. So therefore, just as these issues can arise on a collective level, in a society level, in a country level, in a global level, they can also arise on a personal level. In fact, they always arise from the personal. The collective is always the total of the individual characters. So one of the reasons why Krishna consciousness is so powerful is that every time as devotees, we actually attune ourselves in a healthy, nourishing, and spiritual way to the will of Krishna, we are releasing some of the pressure of the modern society. Issues which would have otherwise exploded are now allowed to manifest in a healthy, calm, and progressive way. So there is the nature of the individual, there is the nurture or the upbringing of the individual, and then we come to this verse. After nature, after nurture, there is also the network. So this network relates to association. So someone of such an exalted parentage, just by bad association, suddenly becomes so demoniac. Demoniac to the point that actually Krishna appears and actually decides, I'm just going to kill this person. So Narakasura was actually born in the Satya Yuga, but he lived through the entire Treta Yuga. He was initially raised by King Janaka, right? So he had such good association in that sense. He conquered different areas, so many different things. But the association with the demon King Banasura made him turn from a fearless and wise leader into a bold and arrogant and dangerous demon who was so bold as to challenge Krishna himself. Okay. He became infamous for his wicked rule. He was disregarding of the devas and women. He defeated Lord Indra. He abducted over 16,000 women and imprisoned them in his palace. He stole the earrings of Aditi, right? And he usurped some of her territory as well. So all of this negative behavior just from this one thing, association. Prabhupada, he has many different statements about association. I wanted to just share some of these because I think that they're very, very useful in terms of helping us to understand why association is so important. Prabhupada writes, the process of advancing in Krishna consciousness and devotional service is that one must seek the associations of persons who are already Krishna conscious and who engage in devotional service. Then Prabhupada says, this is very important, without such association, one cannot make advancement. Our whole process is a process of the flow of mercy. Just like water falls, right? Water flows from above to below. You have the gravitational pull. So sometimes you go somewhere, you see a waterfall, it looks very beautiful, and something is rushing from above, and the natural gravitational pull allows it to descend. That gravitational pull of bhakti, the gravitational pull of devotion, of mercy, is called compassion. It is the compassion within the heart of the devotees that cause their mercy to descend upon the living entities in this world. And that mercy that descends into our lives from these great personalities, that mercy, just like a waterfall, that mercy, that flood washes away the anarthas, the misconceptions, the illusions. It washes it all away. And when everything is washed away, what is left? What is left is our real condition. It's a very beautiful thing. There was a very famous statement by, I think it was a great artist. He said that perfection, get this, he said that perfection is not when there is nothing left to add. He said that perfection is when there is nothing more to take away. And that understanding symbolizes Krishna consciousness. Why does it symbolize Krishna consciousness? Because it symbolizes Prabhupada's statement that actually it is our original nature to be Krishna conscious. So we are not taking to the process to add something. We are taking to the process that will take away everything which is artificial. Interesting. We take up a process to take away. Right? And in the same way, when that flood of mercy comes, just like water, it cleanses everything, but it also purifies, it cleans everything. It washes away everything that is unnatural, unclean. Very interesting. Chanakya says everything unnatural is an enemy. That's one of his sutras. Everything unnatural is an enemy, meaning that the more we go away from the natural plan, which is ultimately the more we go away from the divine plan of Krishna, the more our life becomes difficult. We see that sometimes in the modern world, that when one thing is solved, by making that adjustment in that one area, we then create another 10 problems elsewhere. The modern society is very, very good at that. We'll celebrate success. We've created a new technology. It will save society in this way. But what we don't do is we don't look at the fact that that new technology that I've created is now increasing mental illness. We don't look at how that new technology which I'm creating is made from metals which are being stolen or taken from other developing countries in the world. Right? And actually, the technology that I'm making, which I'm being celebrated for, is being made because, or is being sold in the West at the cost of people in other countries who are being used to make that technology and being paid hardly anything for it. So there's always this spider's web of challenges. And one thing is causing another issue, which is causing another issue, which is causing another issue. So the beauty of Krishna consciousness, as Prabhupada said, is the simple living and higher thinking. We're being given an invitation to roll the complexity back. Just like you see this in modern society. In modern society, they talk about technology and say, we've created something amazing. Now we have to just keep up with the new technology. So whether it's artificial intelligence, whatever it is, they talk about us keeping up with technology. If you look carefully, you never hear a conversation about technology slowing down for the human being. Isn't that interesting? So what happens is we're trying to keep up with the artificial rather than the artificial slowing down to align itself with what is considered more a natural human functioning. And that's why we have so many problems in society. That's why we have so many problems in society. If you read Science of Self-Realization, Prabhupada talks about how technology causes one to be impersonal, right? It creates more of a mechanical mentality, a mindset that is more cold, transactional, rather than warm, natural, and ultimately spiritual. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the ultimate reason why in the modern society people are not happy. Because in any society which denies or represses the natural spiritual needs and instincts of a civilization, in that society, people will always be unhappy. And the unhappiness will come out in so many ways. Now, it's interesting. In this verse, we also learn that Narakasura's mother prayed to the Lord, you know? And that's very, very interesting. We all need this divine intervention. Prayer has so much meaning, right? Prayer has so much meaning. Prayer means my dialogue with the Supreme. There's a very interesting science behind prayer. They've done some studies. There's a term called biophotons. They found that when people think about another person, even if the other person is at a distance, their intention towards another person can have physical, mental, and emotional effects on the person that they're thinking about. Isn't that interesting? So our thoughts are real, they're real substance. Our thoughts go out into the atmosphere, they go out into the environment, and they draw back to us as the sender, right? The sender of that transmission draws back to them eventually some new signal. This is again very, very, very powerful. It means that much of what I'm experiencing in my life has a lot to do with what I'm doing, what I'm saying, and it has a lot to do with what I'm actually thinking as well. So what is prayer? Prayer is when I direct my thinking towards God. Prayer is when I direct my expression towards the Lord. And because Krishna is the root of everything, when I direct my thinking and my expression towards Krishna, everything improves for the better. When in the process of praying to Krishna, I'm also transforming myself. In that process, I'm also transforming myself. And in the process of praying to Krishna, I am making myself receptive to, and I am receiving Krishna's association. Everything that we are is a result of the association that we have kept. Everything. And sometimes we skirt over this and we think it's not such a big deal, but you know what is huge? If everything I am is due to association, then association is also the key to everything I can become. The power here in these statements by Prabhupada is that we're being given an opportunity to make intentional association. Intentional association means that we are literally designing our own destiny. Right? By the association we keep, we're designing where we will end up in our lives. I'll read a few more. I'll read a few more Quotes. Prabhupada writes, if you actually remain a sadhu, devotee, then anyone who will come to with your association, he'll be perfect by association. Means the process of perfection will begin immediately. Now, it's interesting, this statement by Prabhupada about what it means to actually give or receive association. Prabhupada says, why compromise? You don't compromise. Then you associate with him, meaning that if you compromise, if you're around people who have a materialistic viewpoint and you compromise, he says, then you associate with him. If you make compromise, then you associate with him. Then gradually you also go down. So association isn't necessarily who I'm around physically. It's a question of who compromises, who aligns with whom. Every single one of us, we have certain values, certain beliefs, certain convictions. If we are around people who are materialistic and we compromise, then we are taking their materialistic association and we go down. If we're around people who are materialistic and we don't compromise, we remain true to our Krishna conscious principles. And if they're open to it, then they associate with us. Rather than us associating with them, they associate with us. So there's these two dynamics that go on in association, compromise or elevation. So what is meant to happen in a real healthy civilization is people are meant to raise their standards to the level of whoever they are associating with. And those people they're associating with should be of a higher standard. So we can ask ourselves that question. Two questions. Do I associate with those who are of a higher standard of Krishna consciousness than me? That's one question. And number two, do I open myself up to their presence, their standards, their values? Am I receptive to what they are? If I do these two things, by that type of association, I'm actually choosing that type of destiny. It's very interesting. You could think of it in a very interesting way. Imagine we say these prayers. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We thank the spiritual master because he actually he helps us to overcome this blindness, right? He reveals the truth because he's blessing us with the torchlight of this spiritual knowledge. That torchlight of spiritual knowledge allows us to see what we would not otherwise be able to see. So we're like a blind person on like in a war zone. So we're blind. We don't know where the landmines are. We don't know where the weapons are. We don't know where the enemies are. However, we are guided by someone who can see everything. So they can say, take 2 steps forward, take 1 step to the right. They can say, run forward now, stop. They can say, bend down a bit more, and then stay bent down and walk forward. You can go under the bridge. And what's very, very amazing about this is that in order to get that superior perspective, that superior guidance, and that superior outcome, it just takes one thing. That one thing that's required is faith. That's why we're so lucky. The pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam, they allow us to see that which we would not be able to see otherwise. And it's not just the material energy in a general sense. Through the Bhagavatam, through the spiritual master, through the association of devotees, we are able to be guided in such a way that we are able to maneuver through even our karma. I remember before my spiritual master was diagnosed with cancer, I was in Gitanagari. It was very, very interesting. At that time, my karma was such that I was not going to have any resources. I'd been told by someone, Your karma is such that you will lose whatever resources that you have at this time. Very interesting. Now, by Krishna's mercy, by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, by the mercy of Guru, at that time, when I was in Gita Nagari, before my Guru Maharaj was diagnosed with cancer, at that time, I was just living in the ashram, right? So my karma was to lose all the resources that I had, but I didn't have any resources in the first place, so therefore nothing was lost. Very interesting example. Krishna can situate the devotee in such a way that you meet your karma in such a way that it does not become a problem for your spiritual progress. If we follow the map, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the statements of the spiritual master, the statements of the Shastra, so Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, they're like the map. Prabhupada says something very interesting in one place. He says that either one is very fortunate or one understands things through Shastra. Now, when I heard that statement, it made it very clear to me. Prabhupada was equating the two things because it's like this. Either you're very fortunate, you go into a field and you decide to dig somewhere, and suddenly you just find that you're just digging, and if you keep digging, you come across gold. So that's one kind of good fortune. You happen to strike gold. The other type of good fortune is someone gives you a map and you're able to read the map, and on the map it clearly shows you where the gold is buried in that field that you're around. So either you strike gold by accident or someone gives you a map which shows you where to strike gold. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, we better get the gold. That gold is the love and the gift and the Krishna consciousness that has been given to us, that's been offered to us by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We need to make sure that we get that gold. And so the Shastra is the map, the Guru is the guide, and then all we have to do is follow sincerely. It is so interesting how this Narakasura can become a demon who starts to act improperly. What is the demonic mentality? The demonic mentality, it actually is rooted in illusion. It is actually, in one sense, we should feel compassion for such personalities. Why? Because they're so confused that they don't even understand that what they're doing goes against their own self-interest. That's the amazing thing about it. It's not like someone's a demon and you could say on one level they're bad, treacherous, atheistic, etc. But on another level, on a deeper level, you can say they're confused. They don't actually understand that what they're doing is actually going against their own best interest. So we see this again and again in society. Many people in society, they want to encourage you, identify with your body. You should identify with your body. You are from this place, you're from that place, you are that age, this gender, that gender. What we don't know is the subtle dangers of identity. Everyone in the world goes through old age, disease, death, etc. But everyone doesn't go through it in the same way and to the same degree. I repeat that. Everyone goes through birth, old age, disease, death, etc. But not everyone goes through it in the same way or to the same degree. Why? Because it's not just about being body conscious. There are actually degrees of body consciousness. In the news right now, there's a famous personality who's now been arrested. And, this person, multi-millionaire, rich, famous, all this kind of stuff. And having engaged in lots of bad behavior over a long period of time, now he's having to pay the consequences for that behavior. Why am I mentioning this? Because one of the key things that this person has done is engaging in lots of negative physical activity. How does that happen? This point, degrees of body consciousness. Think about it. If I don't know that there's more to life than just gratifying the senses, if I don't know that there's more to life than that, if I don't know that there's a higher consideration, what do? So first of all, someone is poor. They think, you know what, I'm unhappy. First thing is the misdiagnosis. I think I'm unhappy because I'm poor. I think I'm unhappy because I don't have money, fame, all this kind of stuff. So what do they then do? They then spend their whole life trying to get this. Most people don't get it anyway because their karma isn't such that they can have all these things. But some small group think, oh, let me try it. And they try it and then they get it. Now they start thinking it's because I'm so great. No, it's because your karma's like that. But now they've opened up another challenge. Now I've got all this money and I'm trying to gratify my senses. But what I think is happiness is not happiness. Happiness in the mode of passion is not happiness. Happiness in the mode of passion is stimulation. You see, there's a difference between being happy and being stimulated. So most people in the world have never even experienced happiness. All they've experienced is stimulation, mode of passion. So the person starts thinking, now I've got money, I've got fame, I will buy this, I will buy that, I will buy this experience, I'll buy that experience. Stimulation. But because they don't know about any higher goal of life, then when they start doing all this stimulating activity, it's like a drug. All stimulating activities ultimately are like drugs. Why? Why do I say that? You see, when you take a drug, when someone takes an intoxicant, the first time they take it, they get a certain intense stimulation. But the next time they take the same amount of that intoxicant, they get less stimulated because their body has now become conditioned to that drug. So what they took before gave them some stimulation. They take the same amount again, it doesn't stimulate them as much. So what do they have to do? They have to take even more of it now to get the same effect. Then they take more of it to get the same effect. In fact, that's the story of the mode of passion. So I do one thing, I engage in one illicit activity, stimulating. But now, like Prabhupada said, what does he say? It's like scratching on an itch. You actually inflame the situation, it gets worse. You scratch it, you have to scratch it some more with the idea of trying to relieve the itch. But now you've stimulated it even more. Then you have to scratch it some more to try and relieve the itch, and you stimulate it even more. So one illicit activity. After a while, it gets boring. So I've got to do something even more degrading to get some stimulation. That gets boring. So I've got to do something even more degrading to get some stimulation. So it's a dangerous ultimately downward spiral of addiction. So most people have never even known happiness. They've never even experienced happiness because what they call happiness is actually the stimulation that leads to addiction, that leads to fall down. Interestingly enough, this other point we can take from Narakasura and him challenging Krishna is that actually, and this is a very important lesson for all of us, the more we receive, the more humble we have to become. See? It is not enough to be Krishna conscious to a certain level now. It's never enough because the Maya accelerates. So in order to be balanced, knowing that the Maya accelerates, and in order to remain balanced, Krishna consciousness has to also accelerate. You know, you're trying to win a race. Now, if you stop running, you think I'm ahead. So I'm doing quite well. You know, Guru Maharaj is pleased with me. So I'll take a break. I'll stop running. Do the other athletes who are running behind you, do they stop? Do they think, oh, this person stopped running, we should also stop? No way. No way. When they see you stop running, they think to themselves, here is my chance to catch up and overtake them. That's the way it is. That's the way life is. That's the way Maya is. So Narakasura became proud by a bad association. We also, if we do not accelerate our devotion, that bad association, ultimately the worst association is the conditioned mind. That bad association then catches up with us. I'm preaching to myself when I say this. That bad association, that internal negative association then catches up with us. And when it catches up with us, then we lose our ability to progress in a healthy way. It's very, very interesting because we also don't know what kind of karma we have. We don't know what situations or circumstances are just around the corner for each and every one of us. Just like this celebrity. This celebrity, one day, everyone's talking about how wonderful they are. Everyone wants to know them. Tomorrow, everyone wants to distance themselves. I have nothing to do with this person. I don't know this person. That's the way the material world is. Treacherous. Literally, treacherous. So each and every one of us have an opportunity in our Krishna conscious life. Each and every one of us have an opportunity to be very wise in how we practice bhakti. Each and every one of us have an opportunity to consciously choose the association that we keep in order to accelerate in the goals that we have of spiritual life. You know, my spiritual master used to say that in the Olympics, he would notice that when a country has an Olympic team, if they have a gold medalist in their team, it raises the standard of all the other athletes in that same country because they also feel we can do it because we have a gold medalist on our team. Similar thing for us. When we associate with advanced devotees, and this is a real point here, we have to actively go looking for it. Don't expect it to fall in your lap. Every type of association is a destiny in disguise. Right? You can look at this from now on. Whenever you spend time with anyone, including time on the internet, time on your phone, time on your YouTube, time on your Instagram, time on your Facebook, whenever you associate with anyone or anything, you should think that whatever I'm associating with is my destiny in disguise. Because whatever I'm associating with is a clue, is a hidden key or symbol of where I'm going to end up in my own life. So wherever we want to go in life, the most simple, powerful, sophisticated, profound, and effective way to do it is to find the association that symbolizes your goal. And as we find that association that symbolizes our goal, and for us, that's pure devotee association because they symbolize the goal of love of God. But not waiting for them to show up, not just waiting till they turn up at the program, but actively go looking for them. When we do that, our higher goal will be realized. When we do that, our destination will be realized. And it comes through intense desire, which then manifests in intense pursuit, intense activity, intense service. So we'll leave you with this story. So there was a story about a guru and a disciple. And the disciple would always ask his guru, Guru Maharaj, when will I become self-realized? And the guru actually for some time did not answer the question. The disciple didn't understand why is Guru Maharaj not answering my question? And you try again, Guru Maharaj, I really want to know when will I become self-realized? Spiritual master didn't answer. One day the disciple and the guru were walking by a bridge. And suddenly the spiritual master grabbed the disciple and plunged his head under the water. And the disciple was struggling to come up for breath, struggling to breathe. And he came up and he was completely shocked. Did my Guru Maharaj try to kill me? Does my Guru Maharaj not love me anymore? Has he gone mad? What is going on? His spiritual master looked at him very sternly and looked him in the eye. And the disciple was just recovering, breathing deeply, but the spiritual master did not let up. He looked the disciple in the eye and he asked him a question. He said, when you were drowning, what did you think about? And the disciple was still trying to orient, but he was able to just, he knew very well what he'd been thinking about because it was so intense. He said, I was just struggling to breathe. I was just struggling to come up for water. And his spiritual master said to him, he said, when your desire for Krishna is as strong and as intense as your desire for air when you were drowning, So when your desire is that strong, then you will become fully self-realized. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Open up for any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Sri BHUTABHAVANA Prabhu. Well, I am certainly quite a man of no short of words, but it seems I'm kind of handicapped this time because I do not really know what to say. This katha you shared with us is like a medical doctor accurately diagnosing the problem and at the same time surgically operating on the problem to relieve the patient of his ill condition. So, dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, realizations, comments you may want to ask or share, please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask or share your realizations or comments.
Varaha Prabhu.
Remember, Acharya, please you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees. Nice to have your Cyber Sangha here, BHUTABHAVANA Prabhu. And thank you for the delivery, very enlightening. You mentioned something about
Excuse me, Prabhu, before you continue, your audio is not quite clear. I think you're using earpiece or something. Can you check?
I'm using earpiece. I'm using earpiece. Okay, I'll try.
Okay.
Is it a bit better now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, you mentioned something about what is the nature of devotion. Yes, it says something like, we don't have anything to add to it. We don't have anything to add to it. And we only have things to take away from us. So I would like you to explain that better, because I think what we learn is that the process of bhakti is giving and giving and giving, constantly giving. We have, unless we have something to give, or give love. Love means giving something, you're giving your attention, giving your whatever, your time, your energy. So that kind of creates a little confusion if we have nothing to add in the process. And we also learn that the process of bhakti, of love, is constantly giving. And material affairs, business, is wanting to take all the time. So can you please clarify that with little understanding I have? Hare Krishna.
Yes. So when I said that there's nothing in the process of perfection, there's nothing to add, what I mean is when by our sadhana and by our practice and by our service, what's happening to us is we're removing anything that is artificial. Right now, we are covered by, contaminated mind, contaminated intelligence, contaminated ego. So when we practice Krishna consciousness, as Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. What he means is, if you take away all the impurities from a person, all that's left is their natural inclination to love and serve Krishna. So what I was talking about was the sense that when we clean ourselves up, Cheto dharpana marjanam. When we clean away everything that is artificial to us, right? When there's nothing left to clean away, every single person, even the strongest atheist, every single person, when they remove all that is artificial, they're lovers of Krishna. So that's what I meant by that. I wasn't talking about what we offer to Krishna, although even there, to be honest, you could argue in one sense we don't offer anything to Krishna. It belongs to him in the first place. All we do is we actually use it as a medium through which that we can give our love to him. But in terms of ourselves, the whole process of Krishna consciousness, in terms of what it does to the living entity, is it removes all the impurities from them so that their original nature and tendency can fully manifest as a servant, as a loving servant of Krishna. That's what I meant. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that's clear to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Nice.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Well, Kusha Prabhu, please give me a name.
Yes, Prabhu Hare Krishna and Lord bless.
Hare Krishna.
My question is this last word you mentioned now, that we really have nothing, everything belongs to Krishna in the first place. We only use it as a way of service. My question is like the ocean. The ocean is vast. If I pour water inside the ocean, doesn't make no difference. So since ocean itself is the bigger water than the water I'm having in a glass of cup, in a cup of glass, why are we offering something to Krishna when it already belongs to him? It doesn't make any difference.
No, see, it makes a difference to us. It makes a difference to him. So let me explain. So it's just like this. So often we remember when we were young, and let's say it's our mother's birthday, right? Or even our father's birthday, or Mother's Day or Father's Day. So some celebration. And then we made a card for our parents. Now, the card that we made for our parents, we bought it with the money that they gave us. It was our pocket money. So we got the card, the crayons or the pen that we used to write happy birthday, mum, or happy birthday, dad. My parents, they paid for that pen. It was the pen, it was their pen, and everything that we did, it all came from resources that were given to us because we were at school, we didn't have a job, you see? But what the parents appreciated is the love, the sentiment, the affection with which we gave the gift. So Krishna's like that. Krishna's like that. He wants to have a loving exchange with his devotee. You see, and we see this. We see it like a reflection of this in the world. Even if someone's famous and wealthy, right? Someone's a millionaire or a billionaire. Still, when their friends, when their family throws like a surprise birthday party for them, right, and buys them some nice gift, they don't say, "Oh, you're living in my house, the birthday party, you bought the cake with money that I gave you, and you did it as a surprise, and the gifts that you got me is due to the money that I gave you in the past." The billionaire doesn't say that. He says, "That's so kind of you to buy me something," because he appreciates that it's a loving exchange, it's a loving consideration, it's a loving thought. Now, there's another level. In the Bhagavatam, it says, ahoituki apratiyata yayatma suprasidati. The devotional service should be unmotivated and uninterrupted. And it says something absolutely magical, in order to completely satisfy the self. This is another answer. Because we're part and parcel of Krishna, it is only when the part serves the whole that the part feels happy, feels true joy, feels true fulfillment. Prabhupada gives the example of the hand, right? And let's say that, or even the stomach. Let's say that there's some food on the table, right? You've got a plate of very delicious prasadam. The hand, picks up the food. Let's say it's a bun or some bread. The hand picks it up, but the hand decides, why do I need to give it to the stomach? Why should I give it? It doesn't make any difference. The stomach, I want to enjoy the sandwich myself. So the hand tries to then squeeze the sandwich and, play with the sandwich and, move around the sandwich. And it's hoping that it will be satisfied. It can't be satisfied because the hand is part of the body. It is when the hand takes that food, puts it in the mouth, it's chewed, and then enters into the stomach. Then the whole body, the entire body is nourished, feels satisfied, and grows. So in the same way, it is a question of what is true happiness. Because we're part and parcel of Krishna, if we decide to just, I will do whatever I want independently, you'll see, just like everyone in the world, you'll see that we just become unhappy. That's the point. Mamai vamso jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana, manashishtan indriyani, prakriti shtani kashati, mama eva amsa. Amsa means part and parcel. Krishna says the living entities are my eternal parts and parcels. So the part will only ever be satisfied, happy, fulfilled, abundant, to the extent that the part satisfies the whole. So we're part and parcel of Krishna. If we satisfy Krishna, that is the only exclusive and unique formula for true, deep, and lasting happiness. And everyone that you see in the world who's trying other formulas, that is the number one reason why in the material world people are not happy. They didn't understand the formula properly. Yeah. So that's my answer to your question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the beautiful questions and the awesome answers. Anyone else? In fact, BHUTABHAVANA Prabhu, you were answering Kusha Prabhu's question. I also thought of when Srila Prabhupada said that oftentimes, like, you see pilgrims go into River Ganges, Mother Ganga, and take bath in Ganga to purify themselves. And what do they offer to Ganga? They fetch the same Ganga water and offer it back to Ganga, and Ganga becomes very happy. Even though it's her own water, but since it was offered back to her, because what is coming with that is a loving expression. So that is what you just explained. So beautiful. Anyone else with something to ask or share?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Govinda Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna, Govinda.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my respectful obeisances. Our glories to Gurudev, our glories to you. Hare Krishna.
Bless
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Govinda Prabhu is our Garuda on this platform. He's always right. Hare Krishna, go ahead, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Prabhu, when we talk of association, we always refer most of the time to the objects around us. And so we talk of association, then immediately our mind goes to, okay, who should I associate with? What would be the benefits? Are they the right consciousness? Will I get something from them? Can they, would they elevate me? Can they help me? So the objects around us is what we so often think of when it comes to association. The question is, how do one associate with himself?
Great question. Great question. How should one associate with oneself?
Yeah.
We should consider that there's many. I was giving a seminar on this recently. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he calls the body the sadhana sharira. He says we should look after the body and mind because the body and the mind is our vehicle in this lifetime for spiritual practice. So we should consider that actually, and Prabhupada talks about this sometimes, we should consider that the body and mind does not belong to us. Just like you're in a vehicle, right? We can consider that the body and mind is a vehicle that's been given to us or on loan to us from Krishna. It's not our vehicle, it's his vehicle. But he wants us to use his vehicle to do something. So therefore, we should look after the vehicle on his behalf. We look after his vehicle on his behalf, and we use his vehicle to deliver his message to everyone, and we use his vehicle to engage in service to him. So that's how we should look up. That's how we should relate to ourselves or deal with ourselves. We should consider that the body and mind is actually Krishna's vehicle, and we look after the body and the mind in the way that Krishna will be pleased. It's just like when Sanatana Goswami was going to try and commit suicide. Lord Chaitanya told him, that body doesn't belong to you. So it's not a question of you killing the body. It's not your body in the first place. It's my body. So you have no right to kill it in that sense. You know, so that's how we should look at it. And if we do that, we also make even more spiritual advancement. Krishna consciousness means to see everything in the way that Krishna sees it. You know? Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you, Prabhuji. We have Dr. Hassan, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Your Grace. Please kindly
Hare
accept my
Krishna.
humble respect obeisances.
Yes.
All glory to Gurudev, all glory to Srila Prabhupada, and all glory to the wonderful assembled devotees. Your Grace, my question is about association. For instance, when you have a guru, we have Diksha Guru and Shishya Gurus, and we have a senior devotees which we look up to them, and we learn a lot from them, and we associate from them. As a neophyte devotee like me, who doesn't know nothing, for instance, if somebody who look up to is doing something or trying to do something which goes against the devotional service, and sometimes it is said that you don't have what it takes to talk about it. In your very heart, it's not that you want to criticize the person or the love you have for the person, you become worried. One way or another, either you talk about it or you don't talk about it. In your mind, that thing is there. And
Sorry.
And at the same time, you find it very difficult to talk about it, not in a way that what he's doing is affecting you, but it's somebody you look up to. So how do we deal with such a situation? How do we deal with it without offending the person or not talking about it? Because in the first place, think to my little intelligence, thinking about it, that he's doing something which is against the devotional service.
No.
In my mind, I'm already criticizing the person.
No. There's a difference between understanding what's right and wrong and making offenses. Prabhupada says you should surrender everything except your intelligence. That's the first point. So the idea here is very simple. See, it's like, I'm going to explain it from a different angle. It's like this. When we're talking about devotional service and association with devotees, we're talking about a very deep level of love. It's just like a doctor who loves their patient does not deny if the patient is ill. They actually want to see the truth, but they don't see the truth so that they feel bad and that this person is disgusting. They look at the truth because they're always thinking, how can I serve this person? So I want to see the truth so that I can serve. That's what allows me to be honest and at the same time to be compassionate, humble, kind, and loving at the same time. If I'm a doctor and I pretend that my patient doesn't have an illness, I'm condemning them and cursing them to become even more diseased. So as devotees, we are spiritual scientists. We always want to see the truth, but we always want to see the truth so we can learn how to better serve. So that's point number one. Seeing the truth does not mean it's offensive. It's offensive if my response to the truth is to be critical and insulting to the person. But it's also the case that my response to the truth should be, how can we help? You see? So the problem isn't seeing the truth. The problem is my response to the truth. So that's point number one. Point number two, there's an etiquette. What protects us is always doing things in proper etiquette. If I have a concern that something's wrong, I then speak in confidence, like confidentially, to someone who's senior who can help to guide me as to how to address the situation. And often the senior person, they will address it if it's with someone who's above me. You see? So rather than me claiming, oh, you're doing this wrong, because I may be wrong also. I may have misunderstood something. But now I express a concern to my senior, they can either help me to understand or they can go to the person and help them to understand what they need to change. Okay? So the first point is there's nothing, you should never surrender your intelligence in Krishna service. Right? You should never surrender your intelligence blindly. You engage your intelligence by using it to understand the truth according to Guru Sadhu Shastra. That's point number one. Point number two, we address things through etiquette. So if it's a peer, I may speak to them if I've got a relationship. If it's a junior, I may guide them if I have a relationship. If it's a senior, I will go to someone on their level, explain my concern, and then they will give some guidance accordingly. So that's the second point. Now, the third point is also very, very important. The third point is that, and this is to keep us humble, whenever we perceive what may be an issue in someone else, I should always think to myself, how does that same issue show up in myself? Right? You see someone getting angry, you should think, okay, where am I losing my temper and getting angry unnecessarily? You see someone acting improperly. So then you look at yourself and think, okay, I see that. I'm not going to pretend it's not there, but this is Krishna's mercy showing me that this is not good behavior. So now let me look and see where is my behavior not so good? And if I do that, it will always help me to remain humble. So I will not be blind to what's going on, but I will not make the mistake of feeling superior to other people who have those issues. You see? And again, as I said, the first point, it's always, I want to see the truth so I can serve. You see? If I keep those ideas in mind, everything will always be fine. Okay? So be honest about the truth, but with humility. So I recognize maybe there's a chance I've misunderstood something, but it looks like this. That's the first point. So don't deny the truth. Second, approach someone who, depending on the relationship, I may need to approach someone who's senior to express my concern. And third, whenever I see behaviors I think are not so good, I then look at myself and try to understand, how do those same behaviors manifest in me so that I can remain humble rather than thinking I'm superior to anyone? Does that answer your question, Dr. Hassan?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you for the wonderful answer. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Hassan, for the beautiful question. And Shri BHUTABHAVANA Prabhu, thank you so much for the beautiful answer. We go to His Grace Hare Chakra Prabhu. Please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Chakra.
BHUTABHAVANA Prabhu. All glories to you, all glories to Gurudeva, and all glories to Prabhupada.
All glories to you too, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your in-depth presentation and the answers you've been giving. But it's like, as a follow-up to the question Govinda Prabhu and Dr. Hassan were asked. Usually what I realize now personally, I'm talking about my personal realization, is that mostly we hear people talk, especially when people speak on Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, or anything. Most of the ISKCON speakers, they talk about we should look for good association so that we can enhance our devotion of everything.
Yes.
Right. But we know in this world, no matter how degraded you are, somehow or the other, you may be above somebody.
Yeah.
So why is it that we don't also try to preach that we should also be able to seek for some association of some people that we think that, hey, how can I help these people? How can I bring them up?
Yeah.
Why do we always, I mean, by just looking for the way that I want an association that can elevate me, I'm thinking, I'm becoming selfish. Why am I always thinking of myself, how I can get advancement, and not thinking about someone who also may need my help to also make an advancement? So I want you to give some, what do you call it? Some little bit of your wisdom on this.
Thank you. It's a great point. I think, see, what comes up in my mind is the verse from Narada Muni. So Narada Muni, I think it's in the 4th canto of Bhagavatam. Narada Muni talks about the different types of association. He says we should when we see those who are senior to us, we should inquire from them. He says when we meet people who are the same level, we should make friendship. And when we meet people who are junior, we should be compassionate. My understanding is that the reason why there's so much emphasis on seeking higher association is because if they are actually higher association, one of the things that they'll do is they'll tell you, help these other people as well. Just like Prabhupada, right? Prabhupada is a pure devotee, higher association. And when people saw his association, what did he do? He said, share this message with other people, right? When devotees asked Prabhupada, what can we do for you? He said, the gift that I'm giving you, you share that with others as well. So the understanding is that if the association is genuinely advanced, it will automatically help us to understand the need to be compassionate, which is to give to the juniors, and the need to have real friendship in Krishna consciousness, which is to build relationship with our peers. So that's why there's an emphasis on senior association, because if you associate with seniors, they will make sure that you do all of these things. Whereas if we associate with people who are junior to us, we may or may not get the guidance to do all of these. And that's my understanding why. So in other words, by senior association, we're giving all the instructions to build all the levels of relationship. But if we just associate with people who are junior to us, also the danger of associating just with juniors is we may start to feel we're very special. We may start to feel because we're comparing ourselves to people who are less advanced. Therefore, we can feel, I'm really advanced because look, these people don't even know anything. I know so much, and that's the danger of focusing on the junior association. But if you focus on the senior, Prabhupada writes this. It's in the purport to the 7th in the 7th canto Bhagavatam. Prabhupada explains that one of the ways of developing humility is by the association of advanced devotees. So just like you had so much association with Gurudev, right? And I know that he would have given you guidance on how to preach, how to share Krishna consciousness. I remember Gurudev glorifying you on the preaching that you were doing I think in Africa. I remember him speaking about you directly. I was there physically and he was talking about you. So my understanding is the more advanced the association is, the more they will also tell us, make sure you help other people. That's your giving to the juniors, and make sure that you build healthy relationships. That's your giving to the peers. That's my understanding.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So we have a Grace, Mother Gail, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Hare Krishna, BHUTABHAVANA.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, actually, before you even started mentioning about the danger that we face about dealing with those who are, how do we say, subordinates or whatever, I was going to actually ask you about this thing, how to avoid that danger in trying to, quote unquote, help those who are junior to us. That's the word. How to avoid those feelings of superiority, even though we might have association of those who are our seniors, how to avoid that, the falling into that trap, the mindset that, I have more knowledge, therefore I am superior.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, there's many different ways. First of all, having the balance of all three relationships helps. That's the first point. The second is Prabhupada would sometimes talk about his disciples. He would say that his disciples are manifestations of his own spiritual master who have been sent to help him in his mission. We should actually consider that whoever we're speaking to, whatever we're saying is for our own purification. Just like even giving a Bhagavatam class, we should think that I'm speaking this stuff for myself to hear it. It's my own purification. We should think Krishna has sent me these people in order to speak to them about Krishna so that I can become purified. You see, we should think of, and then also just to add to that, we see factually that our juniors, no one's really our junior. What do I mean by that? The people who are less practiced in Krishna consciousness, they still have certain qualities and attributes that we don't have. You see, you can meet someone who's junior and you may be inspired by how sincere they are. Maybe we've been practicing for such a long time that we're now a bit skeptical. We're a bit cynical about devotion. And we see this junior and it's like, wow, this person is so innocent and so receptive. And they've got the enthusiasm that I may have used to have, but now I've lost it. So we can always learn something from our so-called juniors as well. They're not really our juniors. They're sent to us by Krishna in order to teach us something, in order to give us an opportunity to share our lessons so that we can learn more. You know, it is said that a Brahmana's wealth is his knowledge, and if he fails to give his knowledge to other people, he loses his knowledge. You know, so Krishna is allowing us because in sharing with our juniors, Krishna is allowing us to practice developing compassion. That's actually why they're here. Our juniors are a manifestation of Krishna's mercy in the form of giving us an opportunity to develop compassion in order to please him and make a spiritual advancement. That's how we should see it. And as long as we keep in association of our peers and seniors as well as our juniors, when we're around our seniors, they'll remind us that we're not that great.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and I do have that experience also where, you know, in trying to explain the philosophy to others, you know, it kind of helps you to apply what you learn also, because in order to explain it, you have to become clearer yourself.
Yes.
About the philosophy, you know, and I also have that other experience that you mentioned where, you know, somebody might be very new, but they have so many qualities that I wish I had, you know.
Yes.
And they become my teachers in that way.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I always, you know, try to you know, in quote unquote preaching to others, understand that it's an opportunity for me to preach to myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you very much for those reminders, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, again. Thank you for all you do. Hare Krishna.
Let me quickly chip in something about the answer BHUTABHAVANA just gave.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
That when you said actually people, nobody is our junior. That, I mean, it's so true that sometimes you meet someone who doesn't even call him or herself a devotee, and you see some amazing quality with that person. Then you begin to question yourself. Wow, am I actually a devotee? Look at this person who doesn't call him or herself a devotee. Look at what he's showing. And a perfect example is, you see, sometimes you are driving by the roadside and you see someone park a truck. A driver who is driving parks a truck at the roadside somewhere. And somewhere at the side, he spreads a map. He's a Muslim. And he starts offering his prayer. You see such a thing and you are thinking, wow, why can't I even sacrifice to wake up and go to Mangalati?
Yeah.
This person is so dedicated to what he's doing. So if I call myself a devotee, what am I learning?
Yeah.
Where is my dedication? Where is my, complete, submission? Yeah. So thank you for that thing. It's very important that when whoever we come across, so most of the time we try to learn something, irrespective of what we call the person. Thank you.
No, thank you. And you know, I remember hearing that from Gurudev. if the process is actually working, it will result in humility. If there's humility, we will see everyone and we will call everyone Prabhu. What does Prabhu mean? It means you're my master. We don't just say Prabhu to the people who are senior to us, the devotees who are senior. We say Prabhu to everyone, which means that we actually see everyone as our masters and we see ourselves as the servant of everyone. That's the mood.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, thank you so much. I just remembered something Gurudev, Yasodhada's Bhaktivinoda Swami Maharaj used to say when he was physically here with us. He used to encourage devotees to preach, you know. And I was indeed and agree with you when Gurudev was in the temple room and he asked BHUTABHAVANA to speak. And I didn't know him at that time. And I was thinking to myself, Gurudev is here and he's asking this young boy, excuse me, Prabhuji. But this is how Gurudev was training us. And Gurudev, just like Mother Gail was saying, because when we speak, we're speaking to ourselves. And so when we have to do something, excuse me, say something crazy, we remember what we said. Even if we don't know anything, we read from the scriptures and we just repeat it. So it reminds us, hey, I said this, why should I do it? I'm not supposed to do it. So we're preaching to ourselves. Thank you so much. We go to Krishna Prabhu. Please, you may unmute.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. I have a question where you mentioned we seek for higher association and receive for our own more spiritual advancement. So my question is there an offense after receiving the higher association, staying in temple, and you are not distributing the knowledge? Is it an offense?
It's a very good question. I would say I won't use the word offense. I won't use the word offense because I don't think that would quite convey the right mood. It means if we have higher association and we don't share, it means we did not take proper advantage of the association that we receive. Because if you had the opportunity for higher association and you took that higher association properly, it would naturally result in an inspiration to share. You'd feel that you've received so much more than you deserve. How can you not make that opportunity available to other people?
But Prabhupada gave example of prasadam. Say, don't waste prasadam. Don't step on prasadam. It's an offense.
Yes.
So in that mood, if one receives higher knowledge, there should be a kind of offense also.
Well, again, I'm not going to, the words we use are important. The point is that if we did get higher association, if we took it seriously, that wouldn't even be a question. If we took it seriously, if we got higher association, you would naturally feel inspired to share what you've learned with other people. The fact that someone gets so-called higher association and does not take to sharing, it means that they weren't receptive to the association in the first place. Yeah, let's put it that way.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe next question then, because I'll need to.
Yeah, you need to move on. Okay, thank you so much. Shrimara Prabhu, I believe you may be the last person to ask questions. This is a platform of questions, but there is time also. Thank you so much. Shrimara Prabhu, please give me a mute.
Okay, 1 minute. Hare Krishna, am I audible?
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So you said something when you were answering about the Asan's question, that Prabhupada said we should give up everything, but not our intelligence. And immediately, I tried to, figure out that. And I remember a story which illustrates just that. I can remember that story. But then I would still want to, I can share the story later on, but I want to hear from you any reference of this where Prabhupada said we should not give up our intelligence. I remember a story to this effect, but it's a story from the Pancha, whatever.
Pancharatra.
Pancharatra, yeah.
I don't recall the exact reference. I heard it from devotees who had association with Prabhupada directly. You see? So, for example, to His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So I heard it directly from devotees who had direct association from Prabhupada about these things. So they said it. And they heard it from Prabhupada who told them. You see? So so that's the reference, I guess. But I don't know the particular pastime and so on. But also, to be honest, I have heard that from multiple devotees. But he said that on more than one occasion. But it means you don't let's make sure we're very clear. When it said you don't surrender your intelligence, it means that you don't blindly follow. And if you want a specific for that, then if you go to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text number 34 in the purple, Prabhupada says blind following and absurd inquiries, both things are condemned. 434 in the Bhagavad Gita purple. You see? You're not meant to follow blindly. You know, that's why in that verse, 434, the verse is Tadvili Pratena, Priprasnena Sevaya Upadekshanti Te Gyanam, Gyaninas Tatvadashinaha. In the purple, Prabhupada says you should not follow blindly, but you should inquire with a view towards learning or understanding the truth. So 434 Bhagavad Gita, the point about condemning, that blind following is condemned. That's what it means by not surrendering your intelligence. It means you follow intelligently, you follow properly, you follow wisely with the proper understanding.
Yeah, it's also Gita 2:7, Gita 4:33 also.
Yeah. I think Krishna himself makes a similar acknowledgement in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says one should free himself by the power of his mind. So from the mind we get to the intelligence. So if we do not use our mind, our intelligence properly, then, and I think it is Prabhu who actually helped me understand it, that this body, the intelligence, is the driver. And so if we have a very bad driver, then there is a big problem. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. We don't have any problem. Oh, Varana Prabhu, you have something to say?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
It's such a very powerful statement, you know, and it would have been nice if we have a Prabhupada reference to back it up. Because many devotees in ISKCON, many who are disillusioned with ISKCON and many who are aggrieved. Their statement and their feeling is that ISKCON does not allow people to use their intelligence, and up to the point of saying that ISKCON is becoming like a cult, because many people are afraid to point out fault or speak out for the fear of being considered as offensive.
It depends,
and it becomes.
It depends on
and it becomes. What I'm trying to address here is that if this is our understanding, and like you said, you had it several times. If this is our understanding, why has it become pervasive in the mind of many that ISKCON is like a cult where you cannot question things? Why? Because it's like a contradiction.
Yeah, it depends on the association that we keep. So there's a few things. First of all, in some cases, if we're around devotees who don't behave properly, then when we question, they become angry, and that's wrong. But at the same time, and we have to be very honest about this, at the same time, sometimes someone may be a good devotee, but they're offended not because we're questioning, but they're offended because of the way that we're doing it. You see? This is why I mentioned in an earlier answer, it's not just a question of just, like if you feel someone's doing something wrong, it's uncultured to just start shouting at them in a public forum. You see, then the vote say, well, I'm questioning. No, that's not the right way to do it. It has to be done sincerely according to etiquette. You see, that's the point. So therefore, when we see something that we think may be wrong, this is also important. Sometimes we're wrong. Sometimes I don't understand why something is being done, but I immediately assume, therefore, this person's wrong. I may be misunderstanding it. So it's about the inquiry according to the proper etiquette. If I'm sincere, I'm inquiring, I do it in the proper way, and things still don't work out, then that means that I'm not at fault there because I've done everything properly. But what I've often seen is that sometimes devotees leave or have an issue And it's not exactly because of what's going on. It's also because of the way that they addressed it. They became insulting of that person. Even if a devotee makes a mistake, it doesn't mean we insult them, right? So it's again, sometimes there's a fault on the person who's perceived to be misbehaving. Sometimes there's a fault on the person who's inquiring. Sometimes there's a fault on both sides. So we have to be very, very honest and very, very wise to really do it properly. And that means what's in my control. So even if someone's doing something wrong, am I addressing it properly? Am I behaving properly? Do I have the right motive? Am I approaching the whole thing with sincerity and in the proper, according to the proper etiquette? Because even if I'm right, but I'm approaching it in the wrong way, it's still problematic. So we have to really see. Sometimes it's not just as simple as saying this person doesn't allow me to question. Sometimes it's like that. I want to be very honest. Sometimes it's true, but sometimes it's something else is going on. So I have to make sure, am I behaving properly, irrespective of what the other person is doing? And if I am, then ultimately Krishna will protect me. Yeah. So I have to I want to just make sure we have that full picture, because otherwise on both sides, people complain. So one side is just saying, oh, they attacked me or they criticized me. They didn't give me a chance to explain. Then the other side is I asked a question and this person was upset about me asking a question. We have to make sure that end to end, we're doing everything properly. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. I think Prabhuji said you have to leave, but there is this verse I just found. Where is it? It's Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, Text 4. And the purport, Srila Prabhupada was saying that one should use his intelligence to advance his existence, both in the material and the spiritual sense. So I just checked from the database, and there are quite a number of references where Srila Prabhupada encouraged people in general, not just devotees, to use their intelligence. Like 224, Srila Prabhupada says, an intelligent human cannot live the life of an animal. Rather, man should try to utilize his intelligence in arts and science, poetry, and philosophy in such a way he can further the progressive march of human civilization.
Can I just add one quote before I go?
Yes, please.
So I just looked it up just because it was a very good question, Varaha, you mentioned. So I found the exact quote. So Prabhupada talks, he says, and this is a quote, surrender by your intelligence, comma, but don't surrender your intelligence. It's a letter to Bali Mardan, dated 1974. So direct quote from Prabhupada. It's there. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I'll share it on the Gurudev Global Connect group.
Okay, please do. Well, dear devotees, we can't thank you enough for your love, your patience, and participation. And at this point, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute, and we chant the Lord's Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace BHUTABHAVANA Prabhu, for sharing his love and wisdom with us today. And we pray and hope that we can have this association more and more in the very near future. So, dear devotees, please, you may kindly unmute and we all chant. Jai.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
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 Ram,
Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Karpataru
Chakrapata
Ubhyascha,
Vyascha, Kripa
Ubhyas
Sindhuka
Devascha,
Evacha, Patitanam
Sridharam
Pavanabhyo,
Bhajabhyo
Vaishnavebhyo, Namo
Bhajabhyo
Namaha.
Namaha. His Grace BHUTABHAVANA Prabhu ki Jai.
Hey.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Bhakti
Thank
Guru
you.
Maharaj ki Jai. His Commander Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Those who assemble devotees.
Hare
Thank you very much.
BHUTABHAVANA.